Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies. Of course, it's Texas. Let's go straight to the Buffy's Catering Hotline. Olin Buchanan is joining us there live from Nashville. And OB, of course, the script writers couldn't have written it any different. It had to be A&M versus Texas. Number 3 for this season. We all know what happened in the first one. A&M won in a rout. The second one, they were up by 22 and ended up losing. Sets up this game. Texas playing for their NCAA tournament lives. A&M sitting pretty, but they want to get that 3 seed. Good morning, OB.
Well, good morning. All those things are true. Really, we should be looking for A&M to get their 3rd win over Texas, but you know we'll take 2.
Yeah, we'll take 2, no doubt about it. How's Nashville? Tell me about the chicken experience last night with Luke Evangelist.
Well, first of all, Nashville's always great, and fortunately, the weather's nice. You never know what you're going to get in Nashville this time of year, so the weather's nice, and that's a bonus. But yeah, so Luke wanted to experience all of Nashville, so we started off. Of course, we went to the arena, got credentialed and everything, and got set, and then headed over across the street to Hattie B's for some Nashville hot chicken, and he wanted to just see how hot he could stand, which they go from mild to medium to hot to damn hot to something they call shut the cluck up, and he went with hot and had was feeling the effects, and then this lady working there saw what was going on, so she brought him a piece of the shut the cluck up, which was the hottest they make, and like a trooper, he tried it and immediately regretted it, because there's a reason there's a reason it's famous for the hot chicken.
Well, if you want to check it out, go to TexAgs.com. They have that whole video there. Hey, OB, let's set the scene here. So first off, this is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm currently in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. If you want to invest in pro sports, let them take care of you at investinprosports.com. OB, we're doing like an abbreviated first segment because we got a loaded show here. David Cobb of CBS Sports, their lead basketball writer, will join us here in a few minutes. But what do you think is the key for A&M to continue what we've seen defensively the last couple of games? I've said that it's not necessarily a departure of what we saw during the 4-game losing streak, but it seems more crisp. And I know they've changed a couple of little wrinkles where they bring the double team, how they do that. But what do they have to do to stop a very hot Trey Johnson?
Well, I go back to what Buzz said in the second half on Saturday against LSU. He said, I don't mean to oversimplify it, but we just played harder. And sometimes it's just, look, they're going to make wrinkles, but for the most part, they do what they do on defense. And we all see it. They want you to force the ball onto the perimeter and shoot 3-pointers and then contest them. And I think the key is just executing the style of play to the best of their ability. And when the ball goes out on the perimeter, to have somebody closing really fast to make them take the 3-pointers, but get out there and contest them better than they have in the games in which, quite frankly, other teams have just gone off at the three-point line. So you got to get out and be on your game and contest them better.
The thing that worries me, and it should worry everybody, is that Trey Johnson's a 40% three-point shooter. Three-point shooters is not always the top three-point shooter of a team. Typically, it's somebody on the roster, and sometimes it's a guy you've never heard of hitting a bunch of threes against A&M. But when your star player, who, by the way, was phenomenal in the second half of Game 2 against A&M, yesterday he only had 19. But if he's hitting 40% of threes, you've got to limit those three-point chances.
Yeah, you do. And, quite frankly, as good as he was in Austin, A&M lost that game more than Texas won it.
Yep.
Right? Because they just started making turnovers, missing shots, getting technical fouls for silly reasons that gave Texas hope when there should have been none. So that was on A&M more than anything. So I come into this game saying, yeah, they gotta check Trey Johnson's best they can. Tremont Mark had 19 points last night as well. So you got to watch him. But more than anything, A&M, I think A&M's a better team. And I think if A&M doesn't help Texas, that A&M will win the game. And yeah, a big part of that is playing defense at the caliber that you're capable of playing, like they did in the first half at Texas and at the second half in College Station.
OB, look, I didn't have an opinion about Rodney Terry other than I thought he was an average coach or, at Texas. But his antics after the A&M Texas game, and they weren't antics. I just didn't like it. It was gross to me, dancing and putting his tongue out as the A&M players were walking by. That, as a fan, as a A&M analyst, that sticks in the back of my mind. The players aren't thinking about that, are they?
I don't think so. But that is, what raised. Look, he was excited. They won a big game at home. It was an amazing comeback. He was reacting. And yet this is the guy that once scolded a bunch of UCF players for their behavior right after a game. I don't think anybody would have thought anything of what Rodney Terry did had it not been in the handshake line, right? So, or definitely not if it was in the locker room. But I really think A&M, the players, I doubt that means anything to them, and I hope it doesn't. And I'll tell you why. If I'm going to be, as an A&M player, if they're going to be thinking about anything that happened in Austin, all I want them to be thinking about is what put Rodney Terry in a position to be reacting that way, and it was because of your gross failures. I think it came too easy for them in the first half, and they got away from who they are in the second half. And sometimes it's like A&M wants to be something they're not, and it be a reminder. Use that game as a reminder. Play within yourself, the team you are, do the things that you do well, and you'll be okay.
OB, before we hit a break, A&M started the season with a loss to UCF. UCF yesterday with a huge win. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah, they beat Kansas.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
I knew they were playing Kansas. I think I had seen a score before the game was over, and maybe when I saw it, Kansas was winning, so I just assumed they were going to win.
Yeah, so they ended up winning that one. So just something to think about when you look at the.
That makes your net look a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's hit an early break because David Cobb's already in the waiting room. We'll talk to David Cobb of CBS Sports on the other side. OB, I know you got good food yesterday. I know that. I get it. But it ain't the kind of good food I can go get right in about, 3 hours.
Oh, no. Nashville's known for its hot chicken. Texas is known for its, Texas-style barbecue, the best barbecue in the world. And if you want to get the best barbecue in Texas, all you got to do is go right down the road towards Snook. No, you don't even have to go all the way to Snook. You don't have to get close to Snook. You don't have to go to the Snook Cemetery. Just go in that direction, look to your left, you're going to see 1775. 1775, the best barbecue that you're going to have. And like I said, if Nashville's known for hot chicken, Texas is known for barbecue, and that's as good a barbecue as you're going to find anywhere in the world.
Get those pork ribs. Get whatever you want there. They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. Check out the website, 1775txbbq.com, or call them up, 979-492-6241. It's 1775. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. OB is in Nashville. But let's get a national perspective. We go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. David Cobb of CBS Sports there. One of their lead analysts when it comes to college basketball joining the program. David, what's up, man?
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing?
Great, man.
Great.
Thank you for joining us. Hey, so I want to get your thoughts on A&M as a team because I feel like everyone's got similar opinions with A&M. Like, we kind of know who they are. If they're hitting shots, they can beat anybody. If they're going in one of those very cold droughts, they better be offensive rebounding like a mother.
There are no secrets this time of year, right? Especially in a game like today. I mean, Texas has already seen this team twice. You know what Texas A&M is going to do. I think what makes Texas A&M difficult is that even though you know what they're going to do, it is still difficult to stop because they are relentlessly crashing the glass with reckless abandon. And, Auburn knew they were going to do that. Auburn's got a great front line with Dylan Cardwell and Janai Broome. They couldn't do anything about it. So, you know who Texas A&M is. You know what they're going to do. That doesn't mean it's easy to stop. So that's kind of the problem when you run up against A&M. It may not be the most schematically intricate style of basketball, but it's nonetheless very effective.
Yeah, you've heard the term poetry in motion. Watching A&M basketball is like profanity in motion. But what I want to ask you about, David, is the other team that on the floor in that game, and that's Texas. How do you see? Does Texas have to beat A&M to get into the tournament? And is that even enough?
I would be of the opinion that Texas needs to win this game and then most likely keep winning. Now, I noticed some of the bracketologists last night, have bumped Texas up to first four out territory, which would suggest that one more victory might be enough when it's going to be a quad one win, potentially over Texas A&M if they get it done today, right? Like you might think that'd be enough. But the thing you got to factor in and realize here is that over these next few days, there could be a couple of bid thieves emerge from around college basketball. Look at the American Athletic Conference, for example. It's a competitive league, but Memphis is the only at-large candidate in that conference. So if North Texas were to win that conference tournament, well, now all of a sudden the AAC is getting two bids, and one of those last four in teams, like a Texas, gets bumped down a spot. So I'm not saying it's inconceivable that a win gets the Longhorns in today, but I would highly recommend that they win today and then keep winning if they want to go dancing.
Well, we'll root for the Aggies, and then we'll also root for the Mean Green just to make sure have some insurance. So I don't know how much bracketology you do, but where would you project A&M on the seed line? Because I've seen a number 2, I've seen a 3. The SEC we're hearing is like the best conference ever. So when you take all those things into consideration, A&M's got a lot of quad one wins. How would you see the Aggies?
Yeah, I kind of looked at it a little bit before I hopped on here with you guys because I figured we might get into it. And, if they lose today, I'd say 3. I'd say it's a 3 seed. That would be my estimation based on the body of work that they put together. I mean, the number of quad one victories, the absence of bad losses. I mean, that sums it up right there. There aren't a whole lot of teams out there that have the volume of high caliber victories without some of the ugly losses. I mean, you guys remember a few years ago now when they got left on the wrong side of the bubble. Well, they had a couple of quad 3, quad 4 type of deadly losses. You don't see those on the A&M resume this year. So, I mean, their resume is quite solid. And hey, guys, let's say hypothetically, they win 4 games in 4 days. Florida has a bad week. Alabama has a bad week. Houston and Michigan State don't win their conference tournaments. I mean, okay, who's to say? Yeah, they could slip in there and get that final number 1 seed. I'd put the percentage, pretty low. But it's March. Anything can happen. So, you never rule it out, especially not with how hot Texas A&M can get. It's been so fascinating in the Buzz Williams era watching from afar. I'm sure you guys have lived this roller coaster every season, but they'll go, they'll lose 6 in a row and then win 6 in a row. It's just this crazy roller coaster. And, they had that 4-game losing streak, obviously, in the not too distant past, but you get it back on track. And when this team gets it back on track, they tend to do it with a vengeance. So I'll be fascinated to see if they can't put a run together this week.
All right, we have it here. David Cobb is suggesting that A&M could be a 1 seed at the end of this SEC tournament. And by the way, OB, I told you wrong. I made a major mistake. Central Florida lost in overtime. I went to bed thinking they won. No, they ended up losing. That was crazy. And but regardless, let's keep it with this tournament right now. For A&M, Wade Taylor, you look at the numbers, it doesn't feel like the seasons we've seen from him in the past. Yet, when A&M needs a bucket, you know who they're going to go to. When they need a play, you know who they're going to go to. When you look at Wade Taylor and his time at A&M, beyond being the all-time leading scorer, just how do you kind of categorize Wade Taylor's run here at A&M?
Yeah, I think it's special, the continuity that Buzz Williams has been able to achieve in College Station. I mean, it's rare in this day and age to – I think about like Boots Radford and stuff, who he had for multiple years as well. And a lot of these guys that are on this team, I looked it up on their senior day, and y'all would know better than me. But, you had around 5 guys who had spent 3 or more seasons in the program honored, when they beat Auburn that night. Super special. And Wade Taylor, obviously the headliner of that group. And he's the type of guy that you want on your team this time of year. Veteran guards in March tend to rise to the occasion. They've been through these fires before. The moment's rarely too big for them. It's going to be fascinating to see kind of how far he can take them. Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps, as they go, so Texas A&M goes. But regardless of what happens from here on out, I think you have to look at Wade Taylor's career at Texas A&M as nothing but a resounding success. Sure. Was there some thought this year that he could be a first-team All-American? Yeah, absolutely. But, he's not the only undersized scoring guard out there in college basketball who hasn't met the sky-high expectations. Look at R.J. Davis in North Carolina. They might not even make the NCAA tournament. Mark Sears went through a really rough patch there for quite a while in this league. It's a brutal league defensively. It's a physical league. These undersized guards are getting, they're letting them play more, too. The second half of the season in particular, there's not as many fouls being called, right? So it makes life hard on those guys. But nonetheless, Wade Taylor has still kind of found a way to be the engine for Texas A&M.
David, I'm going to ask you a question where I'm going to give you a lot of info. I'm going to do what a broadcaster shouldn't do, a lot of info. But I'll start off with the question. How important is this NCAA tournament run for Buzz Williams? And then I'm going to go back. Considering the fact that he's only had 1 win in the NCAA tournament in his time at A&M. Considering the fact that when you go back to his first year here, the COVID season, I should say, how he lost half of that year, and it just set a team or a program back so much. And the fact that we have so many expectations for a team that was top 15 coming into the season, they're right there on the cusp of it. How important is it for it to be more than just 1 win in this NCAA tournament, a Sweet 16, Elite 8 kind of run?
I'll admit, off the top of my head, I would have thought they had more than 1. I was there for the only NCAA tournament victory of the Buzz Williams era in Memphis last season when they beat Nebraska. And then they took Houston down to the wire. What a wild game that was. How different is the legacy, the resume right now if they get over the hump in that absolutely wild game and take down a number 1 seed in last year's NCAA tournament. And to me, that's what the NCAA tournament is. It is it's make or break, but also the margins are so thin. They're so slim. So we're talking about Buzz Williams in a totally different fashion if he has a win over top-seeded Houston last year. And that's just the razor's edge that you live on in the NCAA tournament. So I don't necessarily – but I'm not boots on the ground there. So I don't look at Buzz Williams and say, oh, well, he's got to validate himself by at least making the Sweet 16 this year. I know that's how individual fan bases talk, but when you look at the body of work and where A&M was in basketball prior to him taking the job and the consistency that he's provided there over these last 4 years or so, I think he's done a phenomenal job to the extent that you're actually, hearing him as a not a tier 1A candidate, but as a, somebody who might get looked at by other high major jobs this cycle. So I don't look at it in terms of, Buzz Williams has to make a run this month. But I think it is interesting. He is arguably, he's on the short list of best coaches in the conference and honestly, best coaches in the country that have never made a Final Four. So yeah, at some point you kind of got to validate who you are as a coach with a deep NCAA tournament run. But on the other hand, it's an unfair way to evaluate coaches. It is what it is in college basketball. But I think you got to look at the whole body of work, which for him is really, really solid.
David, I'm going to keep it with that thought for a second because I think both things can be true. When you think about what Billy Gillispie did here at A&M and what he built, and Mark Turgeon, what he built, and even Billy Kennedy, I think there is no denying Buzz Williams' place here at A&M and the remarkable job he's done. But to be in that kind of conversation of the best era of Aggie basketball in the last 25 years, I think that he's going to have to need that. But regardless, A&M basketball has been a consistently pretty good basketball program. Haven't got to an Elite Eight, I recognize that, but and he has been a part of that, and also doing it in a non-traditional way, getting 3 and 4 stars, or even sometimes lower, to kind of buy into his system.
Yeah, that's what's special. You're not seeing the McDonald's All-Americans, come and play for Buzz Williams. The continuity is, again, I think there's a unique sort of cultural element to who Buzz Williams is. He's got a quirky personality. He's not afraid to unleash a manifesto upon you. Should you leave him on the wrong side of the NCAA tournament bubble? He's got a certain zaniness to him, if we could say that I think actually makes him a really good fit at A&M. I mean, A&M is such a unique place. I mean, you guys know the 12th man and the traditions, the Aggie yell. Like he's got a quirky personality that fits one of the most prideful, unique, special fan bases in college sports. Now, again, he's not somebody who's stayed anywhere for any long period of time in his college career. I think at this point, his tenure at A&M is up there with as long or maybe even longer than he stayed at Virginia Tech in Marquette. So, yeah, I totally understand the idea that a postseason run might be needed to validate his standing as one of the all-time greats in that program's history. But, I look at Texas A&M and I see consistency. I see consistency, and that should not be taken for granted, especially in this rough and tumble era of SEC basketball, for them to consistently be competitive. And now at this point, I think we can say consistently an NCAA tournament caliber team, right? There's a year there where they get left on the wrong side of the bubble, but by and large, a consistent NCAA tournament team. And, that is a pretty nice standard to have.
And I'll leave it with this. Buzz builds a fan favorite type of team, a team that fans can identify with. Great personalities, great students, and they leave it all out on the floor. David, I hope to meet you here in the future, man. Thanks for making some time for us.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be there in Nashville all week. So, Olin, I'll see you over there at Bridgestone here in a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be looking for you.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. All right, OB. Look, man, today's game isn't going to necessarily change the seed line for A&M. And I don't even know if winning the SEC tournament would put them as a potential 1 seed. All that being said, I want this one. We all want this one. This one's we got to have it just because we got to have it, not because it's going to make a difference in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, you know how to talk about losing in a conference tournament when you know that you're going to be in the NCAA tournament? There can be a silver lining to it.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's no silver lining when it's those guys, right? If you have to lose, not saying you want to, but if you have to lose, let it be, tomorrow or later, but not this one. Never this one.
And to be honest with you, OB, before we hit a break, we're going to be joined by Stephen McGee here in a little bit. But, I don't know if you can end Texas' season, but you might end Texas' season.
Might.
Right?
And that would be sexy. They've done it in baseball.
They have.
Do it in basketball.
Yeah, they have. All right, we'll do this. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back. OB's in Nashville. We'll be joined by Stephen McGee here in a few minutes. We'll talk some football, then we'll close it out again with basketball. OB, I haven't told the people what's on the show today other than you and David Cobb. We got McGee. That's good. We've got Michael Earley at 9 o'clock.
All right.
We've got
great.
Brian Barone.
Really?
Brian Barone at 9:20. He's
College Station High School star basketball player.
SIU.
Maybe made him consolidated. That's probably
Consolidated, yeah.
College Station High. But high school star in College Station, and then played for Texas A&M.
He did. He got
somewhere, right?
Yeah, SIU Edwardsville. He got them into the NCAA tournament. So my good friend Randy Zahn's good friends with him. Set it up, so we'll have Coach Barone on the program.
His dad.
Yeah, I like Tony a lot too. We'll have AT after that at 10 o'clock. We will have Logan Lee. 10:20. Luke Evangelist. I'm sorry. He'll be probably doing it from a different angle of that same house. And then the fan show. We'll have Blake Chilton and Royce Hickman in studio. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with OB. They're live from Nashville. Right now, the Association of Former Students, if you or someone you know graduated from A&M in the last 12 years and you're leading by example in business and in service, then the Association of Former Students would like to invite you to nominate yourself or someone you know for the 12 Under 12 Award. Each year, the association recognizes a dozen Aggies who have graduated within the last 12 years for their business accomplishments, civic or military service, philanthropic efforts, outstanding representation of A&M's core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service. Previous year honorees have included leaders in business and higher education, architects, petroleum engineers, nonprofit execs, physicians, veterans, and members of the U.S. Armed Forces. 2025 nominations close on Saturday, March 15th, so be sure to submit a nomination. To learn more about this recognition, you remember you're running out of time, or submit a nomination, visit tx.ag/12 Under 12 nominations. It is the Association of Former Students. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. OB is in Nashville. Let's go back to the Butt-Bees Catering Hotline. That's where we find Stephen McGee, our QB1, Paragon Financial's best. Stephen, what's up, buddy?
Good morning, gentlemen.
What's going on? Hey, so I got to... John Harris yesterday on the show made an interesting comment, and he was equating energy to wins. And he wasn't necessarily talking about the amount of effort you put in, but he was like, the energy needed from 8 wins to 9 wins and beyond is just a different level. You, a guy who's played the game at the highest of levels, kind of talk to me about that, because when talking about, if you want to use the word energy, it's not just the physical energy. There's the mental energy. There's so many different variables that take a program who's got the talent from 8 to 9 and beyond.
Yeah, for me, I've always believed that, if on game day, I think everybody has the same energy. I think everybody's amped up, ready to go. And if they're not, you got the wrong guys on your roster. I think for me, the energy is in the quiet of the offseason when no one's watching. How much energy do your guys have to show up on a day like today to go up there and grind? And as a quarterback, that's putting in all the film study. Right now, spending hours and hours of time trying to break down and become a better football player, and then out there with your receivers, getting time one-on-one and trying to get rhythm and make throws that you just don't have time to make in practice to try out. I think that's a great opportunity for these guys. And for me, that's where the energy is, that goes unseen. I think that's what great teams do. And I think the sign of that is when your best players have that work ethic. That's a great sign. If your best football players and the leaders on your football team don't have that type of energy away from the field, I think that's going to be a telltale sign that you're not going to have a great team.
So, Stephen, I'm sure you were one of those guys with the energy. So what do you do? How do you, as one of those guys, get the other guys in line?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you've got the guys on the team that are going to be the enforcers, and it certainly wasn't me. That was more like a Kirk Elder, Harrington, those type of guys where they're gonna make sure guys are in line, right? You have guys that are more of the voices and doing it, and then you have guys that can actually make sure guys are getting it done physically. And so I think ultimately then you have leadership councils, and you got to say, hey, coach, like this guy, he's talented, but it's not in the best interest of our football team to keep this guy. And so we've talked a lot about this, and OB, you bring up a great point. It's like, we've had so many 5-star kids that are 1-star for the football team, meaning that, yeah, maybe they were really talented in high school, but the most talented guy isn't always the best guy for your football team to win football games. And I'm not going to need to name names on 5-star wide receivers that we've had bust, but then you get a guy like Anaya Smith, who, in my opinion, is a 5-star player for the program, right? Guy's going to show up and make plays. He's going to be a great team guy, the right type of work ethic that makes your program better. So you want those type of football players that I think you can build on.
When you have those kind of football players, how much can one bad apple affect the entire team, and vice versa? A team that's got maybe this one alpha leader who gets it can kind of change the culture as well.
I think it's immensely important, and I think we've seen it. Unfortunately, at A&M, you said a precedence with one guy, and how it was great for A&M financially, but not showing up to off-season workouts and that culture. I think you saw that transcend for not just a couple years, but even decades. They were trying to weed out this philosophy and mentality that I go work out with my own guy. I'm not with the team here working out, or I don't show up at all. That type of work ethic is cancerous. Great football players, but ultimately the goal here is to win a championship. And to win a championship, you got to be all in together, and you got to all be grinding. You got to all be suffering. You got to all buy into the same process every damn day. And it's just so rare. I mean, those type of guys are not common, especially in a world that stresses, individuality, social media. It's all about me. How much money can I get? It's so contra to the norm. And so when you get those right guys, you got to capitalize on it, because they're certainly not common.
Stephen, and as A&M make that next step. We've talked about it. Everybody knows it. It's going to, one of the big issues is going to be improved quarterback play. So where I'm going on this is I want to ask you from your first season as a starter, or from one season to the next, where did you specifically improve the most? In what way? And is that pretty common among quarterbacks?
Great question. I think the biggest way for quarterbacks, and I remember redshirt freshman year to redshirt sophomore year, the game slowed down a ton for me.
Why?
And I've always believed, just because you're more confident, you've gotten more reps, you've seen all the defenses, you know what you're trying to attack. And instead of trying to diagnose what you're seeing, you're just out there reacting and playing fast. There's a completely different element. You're like, oh, here it comes. I see this nose tackle shift down. I know it's going to be, an under defense and to the field. I know I'm going to get strong dog here. And instead of just trying to diagnose and I'm looking at everything, I just feel it. I see it, boom, and I'm reacting. I know I have the seam and 3-fire zone all day long, right? It's like things get quicker, right? The more you get exposed to it, the more reps you get, the faster you can play. And at quarterback, there's so much on your plate. And depending on the offense you're in, I've always believed that if you're thinking, then you're going to be a step slow. And if you're a step slow, that's when interceptions happen. That's when bad things happen. And so I think for Marcel, it's this huge development step of the guy's got an unbelievable amount of talent, but he's got to take it to the next step. And I think OB, you and I had a conversation last week about this. It's like, hey, Marcel against Bowling Green. I don't know if y'all remember that first drive, but that was as impressive of a first drive as I've seen. I mean, he just drove the team down the field and made some throws. You're like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to win the Heisman. He's on fire. But if you notice, when he's playing really fast, it's when number one is there, right? So I know I got 4 seams and I get, a single high safety. I'm attacking that middle field safety and I'm going to work off that safety to throw one of those seams to the outside guy down to the back. But when that number one guy is there, that seam is there, and it's a clean window, boom, ball's out. The guy's playing fast. He's really, really good. But here's where the challenge comes for any quarterback. It's when number one is not there. How quickly can you get from number one to number 2 on time down to your back and say, hey, let's live for another down. I'm okay taking 4 yards. I don't have to force it where you see the interceptions like against Texas late, right? And I'm going to be content keeping my team in front of the chains, getting 4 yards, especially knowing we're a running-based team. 4 yards is a good play for us when it's quote unquote not there. So for me, it's always getting these quarterbacks to go, hey, number one's not there. Let's progress and stay on time to number 2 and then number 3, right? And so for Marcel, that's my biggest thing is the Bowling Green guy. When number 1 is there, he's unbelievable. But when number 2 and 3 aren't there, like Texas, now what, right? The defense is going to challenge you. They're going to try to take away things. And as a quarterback, you've got to be able to react post-snap. And so that's one of the big things for a young quarterback is being able to progress in the pass game and then also being able to handle protections, right? That's another thing you see a lot of veteran quarterbacks do is say, hey, I'm not going to rely on my center to make all the calls for me. I see the big picture. I'm going to slide my offensive line right here to pick up this guy. So now I can have a little bit more time to take a shot versus a defense that's exposed on the back end because of a pressure look up front. So for me, Marcel, unbelievable talent. It's going to be about all these things we just discussed. Is he a student of the game? What's his work ethic going to be? And can he take it to the next level as far as all of these behind the scenes quarterback things you got to do to be good?
Stephen, I want to talk about something you just said there about from your redshirt freshman year to your sophomore year, or sophomore to what year was it you saw the biggest growth?
Freshman to sophomore.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And can that, maybe not that level of growth, but can there be that kind of growth from week to week? So the game slows down by week 5, something that you couldn't see maybe 2 weeks ago. And then conversely, maybe it speeds up because you haven't seen that level of SEC defense. And you're like, wait, this was so easy last week. And now it's all chaotic.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult to take big leaps during the season because you're so focused on the defense, the team that you're playing and how to attack them, not as much on the fundamentals of playing your position because you only have so many hours during the week. But I think the biggest leap for me was in the off seasons when you have time to do self-studies and work on all the fundamentals of playing the quarterback position. And then also just big studies like, hey, how are we going to attack? How are we going to think in these plays? And then, obviously all the other things that go alongside that, getting bigger, stronger, faster, and then another year under your belt, you're more confident. That's a big thing. And so, look, I think the sky's the limit for Marcel. But I think that OB and I have discussed this a lot too, is he's got to get a lot better, right? For A&M to be a contender next year, we have to be led at the quarterback position. If we're not great at the quarterback position, I think we're staring down the barrel of 7-5, 8-4. Because I just don't think we have enough pieces. Or today, right? Maybe we do, and we just don't know it yet. But I just don't think we're complete on either side of the football today. That is to say, we can win a lot of football games without being great at the quarterback position.
Do you how from as a quarterback that's been through that, how much better would you expect Marcel to be?
Sorry, OB, you're in this beautiful home.
Huh?
Yeah, I keep distracted by this Airbnb. You're in this beautiful home behind you.
That looked like
Living the
John
life. Nuño, you got the short stick this week, buddy.
Yeah, I did.
OB's up there living the life large on spring break. Love to see it. I really do expect him to take a huge jump. And someone showed the progression of Lamar Jackson in each year. And then Jaden Daniels, another guy. And Jaden Daniels took an unbelievable leap late in his career, right? Even after, redshirt junior to redshirt senior, unbelievable jump. If Marcel can do that, I think he's on the track for greatness, right? But that is the challenge, right? Is every day you got to have a mindset of, I've got to get better. I've got to be better than the guy yesterday. And very few guys, it sounds easy on paper, but man, it's so difficult in application. It's so rare that guys take that mindset of every damn day, I'm going to get better. I'm going to find a way to turn over a stone today to be a better football player, be a better human being. I think Marcel has that. Everything I've heard, he's got that in him. We'll see. But if he takes the tracks of these other two guys that I think he plays very similarly to, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, that's a big hope. Those are some great football players, obviously. But hey, why not, right? Why can't it be him? And if you look at where they were at his age, it's not an unreasonable comparison.
Stephen, I appreciate it, brother. Thanks so much for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Hope you have a good trip, brother.
I'm having it.
Stephen McGee there on the Buffy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll close out with some basketball thoughts. And then we'll start the 9 o'clock hour with Michael Earley and Richard Zane. We're hitting a break here right now. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them Highway 21 in Caldwell online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. They have a great selection of vehicles there. We're talking about business vehicles, commercial vehicles, you name it. If we're talking about just your personal needs, if you want a truck, that's the place to go look. You need a midsize, that's the place to go look. Sedan, SUV, you name it. They're going to take great care of you there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet with an amazing selection, great customer service, and of course, great trade-in value when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni, a proud supporter of Aggie athletics, and a strong and committed sales staff with many years of experience satisfying customer needs. They're the premier dealer for commercial vehicles for all of your small business needs. Remember, it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes. The edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. One last segment with OB, who is live in Nashville on the Buc-ee's Catering Hotline. OB, you're sitting very comfortably. Like, it's almost like you have a cigar in one hand, potentially, I don't know. What, Nick, help me out here. We haven't even said hi to Nick yet. What beverage would somebody have this early from, like, that kind of lodge?
Bourbon in his coffee or something, yeah.
Bourbon in your coffee, OB. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. The deal is that I had to find a room in this house with enough lighting, to be sufficient, and then be close enough to a electrical outlet to plug in for my laptop. And this is how it came in. So I have to be sitting at this, in this way in which I'm kind of turned a little bit, so just sitting back, looking at you straight ahead. I got to do this little turn. So yeah, I kind of got I don't know if you remember who John Houseman was, the guy that did I can't remember which investment firm he endorsed, but he was always at in a chair like this next to I don't want to call this a nightstand, next to a coffee table of some sort with a book.
Hey,
me now.
You look good. You look comfortable. I'm a little jealous I didn't go on this trip. Hey, so we got 2 minutes left, not even, and two things I want to get into. First thing is A&M basketball question. How much do we read into Game 1 and Game 2 for Game 3, knowing that A&M has been able to, get these big leads? One, they weren't able to hold on to. One, they built in the second half. How much do those games matter in this game, and also the brilliance of Trey Johnson late in that one?
Yeah, I don't think it matters at all, because when Texas and Texas A&M play, you better be at your best, because everybody's going to be giving total effort. I do think it proves that A&M is the better team. I don't have any doubt about that, because again, I think that they beat Texas by 20 in College Station, and they had practically a 20-point lead in Austin. And like I said, they lost that game more than Texas won it, even though Trey Johnson was brilliant, and he's a brilliant player, and he'll be a high-end NBA draft choice. But you know what? It takes more than one player to win the game, and A&M has more. I don't want to say more better. A&M just has, in my opinion, a better overall roster than Texas does.
I agree with that. And then the last thing I want to tell you here in the last minute we have on the show, or the last in the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. I hinted about it yesterday. You're on the road. You probably have time for Netflix, right? You got to watch the American Primeval. I'm telling you, Cowboy Show, 1800s, you're going to like it.
I'll watch it. I'm always looking for something new to watch.
Yeah, you got to watch it. What's on tap today? You got the game at 2:30, okay?
Yeah.
What time you guys headed to the arena? Is Luke even awake yet, or is that young man still sleeping?
I haven't seen him. I haven't heard him, so he's probably not. When he gets finished with you, we'll head straight over to the arena, watch it, maybe get something to eat, and then watch some of the first game, and then be right there to see, cover the Aggies and Longhorns.
3 things you've got to see today to ensure an Aggie victory.
The same recipe. I got to see really good defense, especially at the perimeter. I've got to see A&M get to the foul line a lot and convert, and I got to see them dominate the boards. And they've been, in the last 2 games and wins, they have been absolutely trouncing their opponent on the boards.
OB, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
See you.
All right, OB live there from Nashville. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Michael Earley and Richard Zane. Coach Earley will be here in studio, so looking forward to chatting with Coach Earley. Brian Barone after that, Aaron Torres after that, 10 o'clock hour, Logan Lee, and we'll have Luke Evangelist, sorry about that, if he wakes up, and the Fan Show Experience. That and more, it's TexAgs. Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Got Coach Earley in the studio to talk a little baseball. He is here. Richard Zane is here. Ryan Broniger, thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
So here's a question based on an answer he gave yesterday. He was talking about the way the team is playing, and tell me if I'm phrasing it incorrectly. With his eyes, he is seeing the difference. The at-bats are much better. Obviously, the defense has been much better. Did you see something leading up to that? They're like, all right, it's starting to click because the team is playing better.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got to play better baseball than we have. And I think there's enough talent on the team. I think we're doing the right things where it was bound to happen. And I said it yesterday. It's like you got to have a sense of urgency without panic. And I thought the Rice game, we turned a corner in how we started playing baseball. I think we took a step back that Tuesday. But since then, it's just been clean baseball. From all perspective, guys just seem more confident. Because sometimes when you hit a point as a player, especially as a hitter, where you want to call it rock bottom, you really just start to relax. Mm-hmm. And not that we got there collectively, individually, but I think as a team, I think we kind of felt it. Like, all right, like find the care meter and put it in the right direction. And yeah, I think it's obvious we've been playing better baseball. It made Sunday hurt to me worse because it brought back the old memories of not playing better baseball because you're supposed to have losses like that.
Right.
And it just shined a brighter light. It was harder to get over because after the game, what do you say? As a coach, you're always looking, I think I told you guys this on Monday, like you're always looking for something to fix. And there wasn't. So that made the other, sloppy games just come back, which kind of keeps that pit in your stomach. But at the same time, I like where we're at. And I personally and everyone, we're trying to move forward and continue to play good baseball.
You talked about cleaning it up, and I've asked Wyatt and Caden, they came in here yesterday for interviews, and I want your perspective on post-UTSA practices because I was talking to Coach Fox, and he was like, man, I've never swung so much fungo in my life. But you talk about turning the corner, especially defensively. What did that week of work look like through your lens? And then obviously it's manifested itself in, 4 or 5 straight games without an error.
Yeah, I mean, it was I think I said too, like pretty intense ground ball work before a game, and then followed up by the next day, and really yesterday, just because we've played so much, we gave him a little lighter, but we'll be back at it today. So it's just what's necessary. It's not ideal. I don't think it's something you want to have to do, but if you have to do it, you have to do it. Like you gotta make adjustments and I don't want to say take chances, but do sometimes whatever the situation calls for. As a coach, as a player, whatever. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. But yeah, they've been pushing pretty hard.
Was it when those infield sessions? Was it just adding like something's on the line here? This isn't just regular fungo ground ball work, or did you put something on the line that they had to compete for?
I think it was more about things that were said to them during the sessions, and it's like highly competitive guys, and challenging them. With words and those type of things. And nothing like, it's just like, and they liked it. Like, it was like, okay, push me harder. And it was, not anything we haven't done before, but the timing was right. Unique. And I think they really took to it.
My question is so far out of left field. I apologize. But like with what we're going to see later this afternoon in Nashville, A&M and Texas meeting on the hardwood, you being a native of Indiana and an actual Hoosier yourself, how much of a college basketball fan are you, and how much will you get to watch, throughout March Madness, given that, you're going to be extremely busy with conference play?
I don't, that's a good question. The Hoosiers will not be in March Madness, so I won't be watching them, but I like to watch A&M because I like how they play and how hard they play. So I'll watch every A&M game until hopefully the national championship. But other than that, I don't think I'll watch more.
I think that's a perfect answer.
Yeah.
Great job.
By the way, our baseball conversations are brought to you by Duck Camp. At Duck Camp, they know that the best moments happen out there on the boat, casting a line, hauling the catch of the day. Be sure to check out Duck Camp's new spring hats, like the fan favorite crawfish hat and the redfish hat at duckcamp.com. I want to ask you about Terrence Keel because TK he's played so well, and obviously you want to be completely healthy. But his emergence, his growth, I mean, it wasn't just game one. He has been so consistent. Just talk a little bit about his growth.
Yeah, I mean, he's been super confident since the day he's walked in, but also really takes to coaching, has really good aptitude. I think he learned some things here. He just kind of, I think, just played. And he still kind of just plays. And I want him to just go out there and let loose. I want to put constraints on him. Like, I want him to be himself. But he's done that within kind of the system and how we do things. But talk about, just an electric player. Like, I mean, he puts the ball in play. Something's going to happen. And it seems like every out is bang, bang, or even the plays he makes in the outfield really makes us really, really fast in the outfield. So he's been awesome. I knew he would play at some point. I didn't think it was going to be the first game. I thought his role would be a little different, pinch runner, defensive replacement, but I think he was just ready. He stayed ready, and he's done an awesome job.
Do you think, like when you go through and you guys track and look at all the analytics of, for instance, Sunday, where 17 balls over 95 and they have 6, do you present that information to the team? Is that something that they need to help digest something like last Sunday, and do you provide that to them on a game in, game out basis?
Not game in, game out, but after a game like that, yeah. Like, it's part of the message is like, I mean, I didn't talk to him after the game, and I waited till the next day, and I was like, why do you? And I guess they met, and guys like Schott and like explained, like, why do you think you didn't meet with us? Like, well, what's there to talk about? And that's what I talked about the next day. Like, did you guys know this or that? And they're kind of like shaking their heads. It's just, yeah. When in a situation like that, yeah, you present that information and say, what would there's something in every single game you can point to. Every game you can pinpoint. We had 2, I think it was 2-1, 6th in the 7th. We had 2 3-2 counts for guys swung at balls, lead off an inning. So I can point at that. Yeah. But not how we swung the bat. Like, we did that really well.
Have you been pretty pleased with, especially over the last 10 days or so, with just the swing decisions? Have they improved in your eyes?
I think they've gotten a little better. I think they need to be a lot better. And I think that'll come with guys performing better and not pressing and searching for hits. Because hits come and go, but getting on base cannot. You cannot. And our on base percentage, I don't look at stats much, but it's definitely over 100 of our average. So we'd like both of those to bump up. But certain guys got to make better swing decisions and kind of know who they are and understand where we're at and the type of team we are, because losing those 2 guys, it changes, which is fine. But it's also, you're not just going to out-slug people. You can, but you can't live off it. You cannot win like that.
Kind of related, the analytics and numbers like that not matching results. Jace Levelet's only got 5 homers, should probably have a lot more. How have you seen him handle this stretch where the contact and the exit velos aren't necessarily matching the results?
Honestly, I think he's handling it better than I even anticipated, and I think he's grown. And we have a lot of conversations just about the mental side of the game. And I told these guys on Monday, like, his whole week was great, and I think he's there. I think you'll see a really good weekend out of him. And he's, what he's done a good job of too is, like, through this stretch, he's still getting on base. I remember we were talking before a game one time. He thought he was doing terrible. I was like, you realize your on base percentage is like 465. That was a couple weeks ago, but he's still getting on base in that stretch. And I think that shows the growth of Jace as a player, because if you could rewind 2 years ago, like, if he wasn't getting hits, he wasn't going to walk either. So he's been hitting the ball really hard, and he knows it. And I think, from a mental standpoint, he's grown up a lot for sure.
When you look at the games that you've been able, through 16 games, how much have you been able to, like, call an offense? Like, how much do you feel like you've been able to? Because I asked you this early in the year. How much were you able to coach? Meaning, like, some of this stuff you kind of want guys to work through it, but how much have hit and running and stealing and delays and all that stuff have you really felt like you've done about as much as you want to do, or is there more in there?
I feel like we've done as much as what the game's presented. There's a couple situations, if I could go back in time, maybe I would try to make something happen. Just thinking about New Mexico State this weekend, the thing about, we got a bunt down with their third baseman back with Galloway, but did you see how fast that guy got up there and almost made a play? Yeah. So then he was playing in. There's a couple, I was like, maybe I just don't believe in trying to force an issue. So I feel like we've done as much as appropriate. We tried to hit and run the other day. A guy threw a breaking ball in the dirt, shot, fouled it off, did a good job. But other than that, I think we've sold 16 out of 19 bases, which is good. And the only 3 we got thrown out on, 1 was a pitch out, and 2 have been delays where the catcher did a good job. So, you always want to be able to manage, but I think, like I said before, the game's got to present itself and give it to you. And if you don't have a correct leg time, or if the defense is in a certain spot, you're really just giving yourself up for an out.
And then another name I wanted to ask you about was Gavin Lyons, I mean, he's had really short windows of appearances. And I also thought it was good to see Isaac Morton back on the mound last week, or in the midweek. But Lyons' stuff, it doesn't matter. Like, to me, when I watch it aesthetically, it's like, that's going to play against whoever. So how do you guys go about kind of maybe increasing his role when the big lights turn on this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be really good. I think he could have a chance to be really good this year, but talk about a guy who's got like a 4.2 release height, like that little upshoot fastball. I mean, the only way to find out is to find out, right? So I think we got some other guys in front of him for sure, but I mean, he's going to be on the roster, and I don't foresee him ever not being on it. So his opportunity is going to come, I guess on the bigger stage, so to speak. But really cool kid, like really glad he's on the team, and can't wait to just watch.
He sounds exactly like Jackson Appel. We interviewed him after one of the games the other night, and he came on. I guess it was after his first appearance. And if you couldn't see the kid talking, you could only hear him. It sounded identical to Jackson Appel. It was crazy.
He's a really good kid and a really good player, and just one of those. You like to have guys like that within your organization. So we're really glad he's here.
You speak about guys in front of him on the roster, and obviously the pitching staff is headlined by those three lefties on the weekend: Ryan Prager, Justin Lampkin, Miles Patton. What have you seen from those three guys through their first 4 starts each that leads you to believe they're capable of producing similar results as they face, offenses that are more offensive as SEC play starts? Yeah,
I mean, they're obviously going to face better competition, but I think their ability to fill up the strike zone, and then it's fill up the strike zone first. It's compete first, number one, fill up the strike zone, and then the stuff plays. So it's not like they're not filling it up with stuff that's not good. You know what I'm saying? Metrically, the stuff matches up with what gets people out, and I think you've seen, at least with Miles and Justin, they've pitched with some traffic. They've pitched with a little adversity, and I think they're prepared. But nothing really prepares you for the SEC except for if you've done it before, or just jumping into it and doing it, and understand that you're just going to see more depth throughout a lineup. But we faced, those Arizona and Oklahoma State, like those are really good baseball teams, talent level wise. So I think they'll be just fine. I mean, Prager's been through this, Lampkin's been through it. Miles hasn't, but I think Miles is very well prepared, and I don't think the moment will be too big for him.
Coach, early on Tuesday, you updated us on Caden Sorrell. How's he handling this? Because the competitor that he is, I can imagine it's been very difficult.
Yeah, he's pretty frustrated, as we all are. I mean, no one more than him, and then his family, and I'm probably a close second. So he's hanging in there. I mean, it's just tough because he can hit right now in turfs because he can't wear spikes and let it catch, but it's really tough to watch him hit because you're just watching this guy go take early BP and not just hitting homers, but just showing it's just like you just look at it. I hate watching him. I don't even want to go out there. I want to coach him, but I don't want to watch him hit. And it's really frustrating. I mean, it's beyond frustrating, to be honest with you. For him, for the team for sure, we need him. But you see a guy that's worked and prepared and, had the typical freshman year you want to see in the trajectory that was heading in the right direction. And he'll end up being fine in the long run. I think anything like this, helps you grow in life or as a player, any type of adversity like that you don't want. But I just feel really bad for him. And he'll be back at some point. We got to steady the ship and make sure we're in the right direction. When we get him back, I think it could be the perfect storm of injecting a player like that into your lineup.
It's not necessarily a setback. It's just taking longer to get healthy, right?
Yeah, it heals. That hamstring heals on the timeline it wants to heal on. And, I hope we can get in a situation where we can at least hit him for a little bit first, where I can pick a spot during the game where I can get him in there, or maybe it's a spot in the DH spot where I can get him 2 at-bats or get him out. I hope we don't have to wait till it's go.
Well, you're used to a DH that can't run anyway.
Right.
Right. Hey, friend of yours, Rob Vaughn, coming in this weekend. Just talk about your history with the Alabama head coach and then the kind of squad he's bringing in.
Yeah, Rob, when I signed with the White Sox and went to rookie ball, Rob was already on the team. He had been there for a year. And just a good guy, really good guy. One of those guys, he was just backup catcher, knew he wasn't going to be a player but wanted to coach. And I played in the game with him his last game. I remember he hit a double, got taken out of the game. We all signed the lineup card. And I remember being 2-part feeling I want to be a big leaguer and I want to be a college baseball coach. And he was leaving to go be, I believe, the volunteer at Kansas State, and I was so jealous. But part of me is kind of jealous, but I'm still going to be a big leaguer. But just a great guy. I mean, great guy. He's done a phenomenal job, proven what he did at Maryland was pretty crazy. If you go look at I think they didn't lose a Big Ten series for like 2 or 3 years, and got used to the SEC. He's been in the offseason would give me advice and just kind of pop in here and there, and he's a good dude. I mean, he'll be my friend except for these next few days.
Well, he's got a good club, right?
Yeah, he got good players. I mean, I think they got guys with experience. They had some guys that played last year that are back in it this year. They got some good arms. I mean that program was in a decent spot before the turnover, and then he's done a really good job of just keeping it where it's at and then actually building off of it.
Not trying to get you to give away the scouting report or anything like that, but how do you get a guy like Justin LeBron out?
I mean,
get the guys.
I like our. Yeah, he's really good. He's really good. You like our arms and the matchups, and I think he's hit 11 home runs. 10 have been off right-handers. So we got some lefties going for it. He's super talented. I don't think it matters. I'm guessing the reason he's only hit 10 is because he's probably faced way more right-handers than left-handers. So yeah, you just trust your stuff, trust your guys. He's going to hit some balls hard. You just hope they're not in the right moments, and for the most part, hope they go right to somebody. So really, really good player. I mean, really fun to watch. Definitely like watching more when we're not playing against him. But super talented.
Coach Earley, let's end with this. Is there such thing as amping it up or turning it on even up a notch when conference comes? Like, all right, this is how we've played, but now it's a different level of focus. Not saying that they weren't focused before, but understanding the stakes now.
I think we've been trying to, I think yes and no. I think we've needed to define that throughout the whole season. And I think we're right there. I think we've been playing better baseball. And, I think there's something, too, about playing perceived better competition that I hope brings a little more out of our guys, which it shouldn't, but that's just the case we're in. And I think we're right there. I do. I mean, I look, we're at where we're at because of how we played. And a lot of that's my fault. And all we can do now is play better. And it's not just, hey, guys, go play better. It's make adjustments, do the right things, put guys in certain situations, shake the lineup up a little bit, go a little more defense over offense, because that's what our team is now. Not that we're not going to hit. We're still going to hit, but we need our guys to be guys, and we need our role players to play their role, and we need guys to play good defense, and we need to throw strikes. And if we look up at the end of the day and we've done those things, win or lose, what else can you do? And that's where we got to get to on a more consistent basis, because you've seen when we do that, we can explode on teams, or then we can beat them 7-1, or we can lose a 4-1 baseball game that you shouldn't have lost. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I mean, I wouldn't say I want to change anything that's happened, because I'd love to be undefeated. But to be honest with you, here's the good and the bad of it. The good is you got to play well in the SEC to be good, period. The bad or the hard part is the competition picks up significantly. So you could be undefeated rolling into this, or you could have our record. If you don't perform in the SEC, it doesn't matter anyway. That's the positive side of it, but we're going to have to, I don't want to say pick our game up, but be more consistent with what we do on a day-to-day basis, and I'm glad we've been trending in that direction. This is not a week ago heading into conference. So we're ready to go. I'm excited. I'm excited to see. I think we're going to have a great crowd from what I've heard, and I like that. I like playing at home in that crowd in this situation. I'll take our place with someone coming in here over anyone.
Appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much. All right, as a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50, but right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been around Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Super excited about our next guest. I think it was J.D. Wells that I saw him at back in the day. It might have been one of those other bars around town, but Brian Barone played here in the mid-'90s under his dad, Tony Barone, and he just led SIU Edwardsville to their first ever NCAA tournament appearance. So let's chat with him here on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. What's going on, sir? How are you?
I mean, you had me step back right away with your J.D. Wells reference. That was a good one.
That's old school, man. Hey, so let's just talk about it. How great has this run been? I mean, I was looking at a lot of articles. People are really loving your story. Just talk a little bit about this run.
It's been great. I mean, the last 8 years, I've been here 8 years. Head coach is 6. It's just been a lot. It's just you go through a lot, and there's a lot of heavy lifting, and then you have that moment last Saturday with a group of guys that you really care about, and everything goes through your head, right? Everything from just growing up and remembering my dad's team at Creighton making the tournament for the first time, and just having the opportunity to do this it's been a whirlwind. It's awesome, man.
One of the things I saw that you said that I'd love for you to expand on is you're happy, but you're not happy that you're there, right? Like they're happy for the success, but like you're not just okay making it. There's more to this story.
Yeah, I mean, like we're all sick as coaches, right? We just you can never totally be happy as a coach, I feel like. But one of the biggest things is with this team, like we expected to have the opportunity to be here. Like I really thought we could make a run, and a lot of things have to happen to make the tournament, and they happened. And now there's that, opportunity to go out there and play with a group of guys that have won 22 games this year. A group of guys that if you lose, that's your last time ever with this particular team, all 15 guys together. So we want to get out there. We're going through preparation. We have a scout of a couple possible, other teams we may play. We're putting in today, and we're preparing business as usual, but we're having a heck of a time doing it.
Can you tell us kind of let our audience know the scissors story? Because I saw that. It was pretty cool to see, and how it started years back, and then you brought it back.
Yeah, it's funny because I hadn't thought about it other than that being our goal over these last several years. And, you have different mantras each year, right? Every team kind of always has different things. And the scissors have always just been in the locker room. But the dumbed down version of it is I had gotten the job. A couple days after I got the job, I asked one of my managers, I said, hey, go get the nicest pair of scissors you can get and a frame. And, a nice pair of scissors, like we're like, what, like, he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know, just something like silvery or something, just something that looks cool. And we put it in the frame, put it above the locker room door. When you leave the locker room, you would see it if you looked up. But the first few years, you didn't really notice it. We didn't talk about it. It was just kind of like, hey, these are going to be the scissors that we cut down a net one day. And this program had never won more than 11 games ever in Division I. So I think when people had seen it, they thought we were a little, okay, yeah, that's cool, that's cute. But every year it got a little better. And then the scissors started traveling with us in my bag to the conference tournament just in case. And with about a minute 30 left, I looked at our manager and I said, go back there and get the scissors out of the locker room. And he grabbed it, and then kind of organically when I was talking on TV, he had walked by with the frame, and I wanted to make sure we didn't misplace him after 6 years because we were using those bad boys to cut down the net.
That's an awesome story. When did you know you're going to be a coach? Like growing up as a son of a coach who played basketball, was it something in your DNA that you knew, or did you have other thoughts?
I always thought I was going to be a coach. First I was going to be an NBA player, right? That's what I was going to be. And then I looked at my mom and dad and realized I'm and my own ability, and that was a tough hit. So I always knew I wanted to be part of team, right? Like that's the, in my concept of team was eventually being a coach. But like every year I always had team around me, whether I was doing something in sports or my dad's teams and the way my mom handled those teams. So it just kind of evolved after Marquette. I got a junior college job. My dad actually said, he's just like, if you're going to coach, go junior college the first few years, because the life I've given you is not the life of a coach on how to break into it. And then reality set in real quick on what it was at a different level, because I was kind of that little kid that my dad was pretty much always a head coach when I was growing up. And I just, you fall in love with it. There's a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but it's been pretty awesome.
What was life like here in College Station for you? What are your memories? What'd you think? You went to Consol, right?
Yeah. College Station, it's home. I always say, like, people always, hey, where are you from? I'm like, it's a long story, right? I grew up, 5, 6, 8 years in Peoria. Then I moved to Omaha, but I always end up with College Station as home. Those are my friends. If I were to, to get announced in the starting lineup, it'd be Brian Barone from College Station, and it was great. I was welcomed. It was overwhelming initially when I was in 8th grade. Just because it was so new, they were trying to make me play football the first day of school, and we didn't even play football in Omaha until you just watched football. So these guys were already running routes before school started. So it was just a special place to for me. I know it didn't necessarily end like a coach's dream, but in no way would I not go back there any opportunity I can to be part of going back home.
Probably shouldn't tell you this story, but I'm going to tell you a story. 98, I'm working for Chip Howard. I'm his producer at the time. And it was the day your dad got let go. And I had the task of calling the house and trying to get him on the air. He didn't take my call. But I just remember, this is what Chip's going to have me do. And I reached out to your dad, and it rang and it rang. I don't think he ever answered. But I remember that vividly because I remember what his place here meant. And when you think back about your dad's time here at A&M, just give me some of the highs.
Well, he was probably at Copy Bridge that day when he found out he was fired. Huddled up in the corner, have a couple pops and and burger and fries. We loved it there. We really did. There was my brother played there. Obviously, my mom and dad, it was always a little different because we were Midwest family, with the Chicago connections. So from that perspective, the job might not have been the best fit when it was all said and done. But our time there, I was able to be surrounded by really good coaches. Mike Terrell was a big time coach at Consolidated. My dad really respected him. And then the community just really embraced us. It was funny. I went back a few years back. The Final Four was in Houston, and my son and I and my brother drove from Houston just for the day to go to College Station. I hadn't been there in a while. And we drove by my old house, and we were taking pictures outside with my son, and the guy who owns it comes out kind of like, what are you doing? Like, you crazy son of a... And I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I used to live here. And apparently after me, there was a family or a group that lived there, too, that was a little bit more rambunctious potentially than my family. And I said who I was, and he's like, this is the Barone house. And I was like, we have a house there? And he goes, yeah, everyone describes it as Coach Barone's house, the Barone house. So I thought that was pretty special in that moment. But we loved it there for the most part. Some of the games down the stretch were a little tough, but yeah. I shouldn't have been playing as much. I was starting. Come on, man. We got to get a better player than me. What the heck?
Hey,
and Aaron Jack, all he did was foul and got hurt, down there. Come on, man.
How different is College Station now? It's like a real city.
It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. You just, I was sitting there looking for Cafe Excel to get a strawberry tart, and that's different now. Even the Wings and More that I'm always going to was at a different location. So, it was nuts. How much it's grown.
Before I let you go, what do you think about the job Buzz has done with the Aggie basketball program?
He's done a great job. He and I were together at Marquette. So I worked with him at Marquette for about 9-10 months. And actually, he'd hired me at Marquette. I stayed on his staff for about 2 weeks. And I ended up going with Coach Crean to Indiana. My wife was right from there. And, you just kind of, obviously me and Coach's history, I decided to go there. But Buzz and I have known each other since then. We were going to play this year. Actually, on December 7th, we had an agreement to play. My team come down there because I never got in Reed Arena. That thing broke in front of me one day, and I think my dad still had the shovel 8 years later that was supposed to be built. But they ended up going in their Vegas tournament or something like that, and some things fell through. He's done a great job. He's got an identity. He's got a culture. They play a particular kind of way that you're playing a Buzz Williams team. And it doesn't shock me because I saw Buzz, behind the scenes for those 9 months, very organized, coming from New Orleans, very detailed. So I love seeing his success. I hope I can get down there next year. We talked about maybe coming down there next year and playing, and I hope he has a ton of success next year. Other than that one game, I don't want him to be too successful.
Well, I'll let you go on this. You mentioned Tom Crean, and full circle moment. Wasn't he on the broadcast for you the other day when you guys won?
How about that?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, you couldn't even written it out of it, a script out of it. I texted him, just, hey, do you have any advice coming in? We got 2 games, coach. Like, give me something to talk to this team about. And he's like, I'll be there on Saturday for the Westwood 1 championship game. And I just was like, okay, whatever. Like, I didn't know what he was talking about, really. Not putting it, I thought it was like a golf tournament. I just wasn't even thinking what he was doing. And he walked through the lobby. I was like, Coach. And we talked for about 20 minutes the day of my semifinal game. And he's like, well, I'm going to have the championship game. I'll be calling your game tomorrow. Let's go get this. And about 2 minutes left in the game, I looked across the court and I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, this is my college coach, my guy who hired me several times. And he's calling my championship game to go to the NCAA tournament. And I was like, that's pretty darn cool, man. So it was special.
Congratulations on all your success. We'll be watching you, and maybe I'll run into you at the Barracuda Club or one of those other old school places.
We're going CUDA hopping, man. No, I'm not going back there. I can't go there. I can't do it.
Hey, and thank you to Randy Zahn for setting this up. Both of our buddies.
Randy's
it was
the
great.
Best, man. Randy, hey, you ask him about the picture in high school that he's flexing, acting like he wasn't in his team picture.
Okay, I'm going to ask him about that. He's kind of jacked right now. He's been working out, so you'll got to get a pic of him.
Trust me.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
You got it. All right, Brian Barone here on TexAgs Live. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Aaron Torres, AT Online, and Fox Sports. Right now, you're really good at what you do. Rollo Insurance is great at what they do, so why don't you guys meet up together? They are the absolute best when it comes to getting your insurance. Find out what my family and thousands of others know here in the Bryan-College Station area and beyond. Remember, they've got 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is right here in College Station on Highway 6. You want to check them out. The phone number for Rollo Insurance is 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO or rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. That's rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggie and Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggie Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggie Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. A little late for Around College Athletics, brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces. With a mission to build a healthy community around nature, take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more, millikenreserve.com. With that, we go to the hotline, the Buppy's Catering Hotline. That's where we find AT, Aaron Torres, from Aaron Torres Online and Fox Sports Radio. AT, good morning, buddy.
David Nuño, what's going on, brother? Hey, big day today. How you doing? You good?
We're good, man. We're good. I'm sorry I'm a little late. We had Brian Barone on. I know you love doing interviews with college coaches from around the country. SIU Edwardsville punched their ticket to the tournament. He's a guy who played at A&M. His dad was the coach at A&M in the mid-'90s, so it was fun to catch up with him. But we're ready to talk with you, man.
Yeah, I was wondering what the tie was. I did not know that he was a former Aggie, so I hope it was a great interview. And, yeah, I'm excited.
So I opened up the show this morning with OB, who's in Nashville. Like, of course it's Texas. It had to be Texas. It was always going to be Texas. If a committee can pick it or fate can make it happen, it's going to be A&M and Texas paired up in some way, shape, or form.
Well, how about this? I mean, I think you guys can go ahead and eliminate their postseason hopes. NCAA tournament hopes. I don't know if they would be so inclined to accept an NIT or Crown invite. Listen, I think by the way, I think you can end potentially the Rodney Terry era, depending on how you feel about that. Maybe it isn't the worst thing for Texas A&M to take a loss today, but no, I think it's always going to be Texas A&M. It's always going to, to quote the league office, just mean more. But I think there's a lot at stake. And then, like I said, I think that's a team that, listen, we dive into so many different metrics and things this time of year. If you just look at the win-loss record, I don't think 18-15 or whatever they are, 17-15 gets you into the NCAA tournament, even in a tough place like the SEC. So they got to keep winning games. So Buzz Williams and company, I think, can again essentially end their season of meaningful basketball if Texas A&M were to get the win today.
So what is it going to take for A&M to get the win? They're playing much better ball. Last week when we spoke, let me think. Have they played Auburn yet? They hadn't played Auburn yet, right? So they beat Auburn in that time, and then they beat LSU and playing a really nice brand of basketball where their defense was a little bit more crisp, and they hit shots. They just kind of played like the team we expected them to be. And a team that maybe a player or two different against Tennessee feels different. But here they are, 2 straight with a 3 seed, and some people think even a chance for a 2 seed.
Yeah, I mean, against Texas, it's going to start with defense. I mean, Trey Johnson is as gifted of a freshman as there is. I mean, when you break Kevin Durant's freshman scoring record, it shows you how talented that kid is. I think he had 39 the other day at Bud Walton Arena. So, I mean, it starts there, and then for A&M, I think it's exactly what you said. It feels like they're playing better. You mentioned a play or two against Tennessee. I mean, listen, Chaz Lanier had, historic is an overstated word, but like he had an insane game. And I think he finished with, 30 plus points. If you hold them to 26, maybe you win that game. And we're talking about Texas A&M as one of the hottest teams in the SEC going into the conference tournament. And so to me, it just feels like, and again, I know I'm beating a drum, I'm beating the same drum here week over week, but I don't think in this league this season, and I know the league portion of the slate is coming to an end, I don't think you can freak out over a 2-game losing streak. I don't think you can get too excited about a 2 or 3 game winning streak because it can turn quickly. But to your point, David, A&M had some stuff that they had to clean up. They do it against Auburn. I think they really put Auburn in a position now where we're questioning them a little bit more, beat the LSU team that you had to beat. And like you said, I think they're playing really good basketball. And I said how much Texas is playing for, but obviously A&M, to your point, is playing a lot for what the big picture could look like over the next week or so.
We had Tom Schuberth, who coached for a long time college basketball on the show yesterday, and he said to us that he cannot put as an overall number 1 team, a team that's lost 2 straight. We'll see what happens in this SEC tournament that we can kind of change that narrative. But when you look at Auburn, like they lost to a really good A&M team, they lost to a really good Alabama team. But that's life in the SEC. A&M had their hardships, Bama had their hardships, Tennessee's had them early on. So what does that say about Auburn and their place in not only history, but just this particular NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not one to criticize other people's takes. I just would fundamentally disagree with that one. I mean, what are they? We're talking about a team that's 28-4 overall, or 27-4 overall, won the toughest league maybe ever outright. It literally is putting together a historic, resume going into the NCAA tournament. Again, I hate to bog people down with numbers, but I think it's 16 quad one wins with chances for more. No one has more than 12. And then you look at who they've beaten. Listen, split with Alabama, beat Tennessee, beat Kentucky for the first time since 1988 at Rupp Arena. And then in the out of conference, you beat a Memphis team, which is really good. You beat a Purdue team. I could go on and on, but I disagree with that. And I think the Auburn conversation is interesting because it's like anybody else in this league is that you look at, the fact that, one of their best players got ejected from that Alabama game. And even still, you needed a buzzer beater from Mark Sears in overtime for you to be on a 2-game losing streak heading into the SEC tournament. Now, I think, and I've said this consistently, the Chad Baker-Mazara kid that can't stop getting thrown out of games and doing dumb stuff, that's a concern more than the 2-game losing streak. He got thrown out of an NCAA tournament game last year that they lost. He got thrown out of the Bama game this week that they lost. So to me, that's the much bigger issue than losing 2 straight, is just making sure all your players are kind of rowing in the same direction. But it's hard for me to freak out about losing to a potential number 1 seed at the buzzer. I would disagree with the idea they can't be a number 1 overall seed. And yeah, man, I'll tell you what, though, when the bracket comes out, it will be interesting to see where all of these SEC tournaments are seeded. SEC teams are seeded, but I'd also add, I think the next few days is going to be very interesting from the number 1 seed perspective, from Auburn's perspective, all that good stuff.
Well, I mean, how much stock do we take into how you're playing right now, right? Let's say that Auburn does lose those 2 against quality teams, no doubt, and maybe they only win 1 game in the SEC tournament, just for conversation's sake. Well, no, in that case, they're feeling pretty good. But can you see a scenario where Duke is the overall number 1, or no? It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'll tell you this. I was thinking about this, David, and this isn't like a take that I've really dove too deep into, but what has been, because Duke really doesn't have the resume of Alabama and doesn't have the resume of Florida, but it's like, well, what is the thing that has been, a top Duke's resume all year? Oh, they beat Auburn. It's like, okay, well, they beat Auburn at home. They don't really have much besides that. And now Alabama and Florida both have wins on the road against Alabama or against Auburn. And so, again, I haven't thought that much about it. And I think it would probably take Duke losing today to even have the conversation about should they be the number 1, should they be a 1 seed. I think to your point, it's more likely that they were to get the number 1 overall seed than to not get a number 1 seed at all. But I was thinking about that with Duke. I do think it's interesting. And I do think to your point, Auburn is probably a game away from, getting that number 1 overall seed. I think it would, again, depend on not only what they do, but what does Duke do. But to your point, I think it's pretty much wrapped up. But I will say, I think a week ago we thought it was set in stone. There was nothing that could happen. These 2 straight losses do kind of change the dynamic on things a little bit.
AT, I incorrectly this morning thought that Central Florida beat Kansas. I read the score wrong. I was like, wait, I thought they won. They ended up losing that game, but it was a wild one. I know that you tweeted a little bit about it. So take me through what happened.
This is like when you texted me from the gym. Oh, big win for your UConn Huskies baseball team against the Florida Gators. And then they ended up losing. So, we really got to, I don't know if you need a new set of glasses or maybe you need glasses. I don't know. This is the second time this happened. You convinced me that my UConn Huskies won a regional game a few years ago in which they didn't. But anyway, no, it was a good game. I'll be honest, I was doing my live show at night. So I was kind of trying to wait for that game to go final. I'll say this on a national scale, and I don't know how much it resonates with Aggie fans, although I know you were once upon a time in the Big 12. Something's not really right with Kansas. I mean, this is the second straight year, preseason number 1 team. They were playing in the 6-11 game of the Big 12 tournament last night. Easily could have lost to Central Florida. I'm not pushing Bill Self out the door, but I do think we're seeing this across college sports of, some of these guys that maybe dominated in the previous eras maybe aren't totally built for this era. And I do wonder if Bill Self is maybe next in line, not necessarily to retire, but to just, you kind of look at him a little bit different kind of in this post-NIL portal world, because he hasn't really totally figured out a way to get things going in this direction. They could have lost to Central Florida last night. They'll play the late game at the Big 12 tournament tonight.
AT, appreciate you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right, David, have a great morning. Talk soon. Good luck, and good luck ending Texas' season this afternoon.
Yes, sir. Thanks very much. AT here on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. Short segment, then we'll do Logan Lee on the other side. Right now, we're talking Chance McClain and Heritage Films. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. Get a documentary done about your family before it's too late. Get it done where you can actually share that moment with certain family members that, we're not promised tomorrow. None of us are. But get it done now so you can share that moment with them. And then the future generations can also learn about the family from the voice, right? It could be your dad, your uncle, your grandfather. It could be a family business, a family ranch. It could be family events that you guys get together. Chance McClain is a wizard at telling people stories in this 2-hour documentary form that feels like you're watching like a biography, like on TV, right? It's so good. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. All right, friends. Got about 30 seconds here, so we're not really going to get anything accomplished. But we had a great 9 o'clock hour. Coach Barone, AT was he was, until he takes those little jabs at me. What else? We had Coach Earley in studio. That was awesome. That was a great interview. I really enjoyed having Coach Earley in studio. All right, so hour number 3 of the program. This is what we're going to do. We're going to talk to Logan Lee. We're going to talk to Luke Evangelist, and we're going to talk to the Fan Show guys. It's going to be a loaded 10 o'clock hour tomorrow on the program. Billy, obviously, will be with us, the baseball bunch guys. So we'll have a lot to get into. But when we come back, more basketball analysis with Logan Lee here on TexAgs Live. Time to restore the energy here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. That's where we find Logan Lee with his maroon on. Good morning, Logan.
What's going on, Nuño? How are you?
I'm good. Are you on vacay or are you in town?
I am in town. We just got back from vacay. We took a trip earlier than the normal spring break just to because we have a lot of students that work for us, and they want to take their spring break, so we let them. So we take ours early, so then we work in the studio this week.
Well, Logan, let's start off with a little. Well, obviously we're going to talk Aggie basketball. The script was written for A&M to play Texas. Of course, it was written that way.
Always.
It always is. And like, even if it was up to a committee, or if it's the way it's paired up in a bracket, and I know this is just basketball, like standings determine this one, and obviously Texas beating Vanderbilt yesterday, but it feels like it had to be this way. And if it's going to have to be this way, why not have A&M and Texas this season?
Man, I get it. I understand what you're saying. I wish it meant more for Texas A&M.
Okay.
This game, if they win, it keeps them on the 3 line. If they lose, who knows what happens if they fall to a 4. There's just not a ton of upside for A&M for this game, except for the fact that you get a chance to beat your rival and possibly keep them out of the tournament. But it means more for Texas outside of, they're playing to keep their postseason hopes alive, because right now they're the first 4 out. But I love the fact that A&M gets a chance to put a stamp on the rubber match and come back from the disappointing 22-point turnaround in Austin. I just think A&M's on a roll. They're gonna win this game. They're gonna win the next game and fight for a better seeding for March.
Don't you think it does mean something? Or okay, in your day, beating Texas meant everything, right? Not everything, but it was a huge. And then if you look at the way this calendar year for athletics, A&M baseball takes care of business and ends Texas's season. This is a new season, so they're gonna have to try to do it again. But that happened at the end of last year. The football team loses to them. A&M beats them by 20 in game 1. A&M's up by 22 in game 2, and then they hit a dagger to beat you, and you've got Rodney Terry sticking his tongue out, like he's a member of KISS, right? As the A&M players are walking by. Like, to me, I know fans get more upset about that kind of stuff, but if I'm a player, all those things are somewhere in the back of my mind, even in today's era.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing, you take all those factors away, and I think the biggest thing is they've got a chance to end Texas's season. And this could be the last game for the Longhorns. Now, if they choose to go NIT or whatever, that's a different story. But the NIT isn't as meaningful as March Madness, and it's certainly a plus for all of the Aggie players to be able to knock them out. Like you said, Rodney Terry's actions after the game were not professional. It's not what you expect from a head coach. I don't think the players get too riled up about that. Like us fans, we do. We don't like to see it on TV, especially after a loss. But just the fact to go out and be able to knock your rivals out of postseason play, that's game enough to show up and beat them.
Do you see a scenario where A&M can be a 2 seed?
Probably not. I mean, yes, if they win the tournament, if they go out and they beat Texas and then they beat Tennessee and then they beat whoever else is playing, yeah, that's a possibility. So yes, I do think they can do it, because I think A&M could win this tournament. And I would love for, there are a lot of people that say, well, you're already in the tournament. Do you want to save your legs? Does it mean enough to go try to win the tournament? I think it does. I absolutely 100% think it does. How many times have you seen this Texas A&M basketball team go out and play like they're tired? They haven't. They because they have a lot of guys. And it's going to take all of the guys to show up and perform for them to win the SEC tournament and do some damage in postseason in March Madness. Hayden Hefner has to show up. Manny has to show up. Jace Carter has to show up. And if all those guys show up, that means everybody's playing 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, 28 minutes, and then you can play a lot more games when you play less than 30 minutes a game. So A&M needs to continue to build on this momentum of beating Auburn and then beating LSU, playing the way they have been playing, out-rebounding opponents on the offensive glass, knocking down their free throws. That's the way that they play. And if they do that, I would love to see, I mean, who wouldn't love to see a SEC conference or every SEC tournament championship banner in the rafters again? Like add another one. A&M only has one. Add another one to it. And I think that momentum will do nothing but great things to get them to a possible Sweet 16, maybe an Elite 8. You know, we can start talking about those games again. Whereas during that losing streak, everybody was questioning, okay, is this a Sweet 16 team? Do they have what it takes to get to that point? And you win these games, and all of a sudden, I guarantee you, everybody's going to be talking about Elite 8.
Logan, if I were to tell you, all right, because it's been an inconsistent year for Manny, no doubt about that. But I love his game, especially when he's on, right? Like, if I were to tell you, all right, you're going to get maybe not the exact Manny we got at the end of last season, but 3/4 that. Does that then tell you, oh yeah, this team's definitely capable of making this Elite 8 run that we're talking about?
Absolutely, because last season they didn't have Pharrell Payne. They didn't have the pieces. They didn't have the Henry Coleman that they have this year. They didn't have the growth and the progression of Wade Taylor as a point guard. You know, everybody talks about his scoring, and you know, I think Luke wrote that he needs 11 points to be the SEC tournament scoring leader of all time. So, you know, but Wade's growth as a point guard is what has helped this team turn things around as well. You know, and so yeah, you get a 3/4 of the last 15 game run or 9 game run that Manny had last year, and this team is better than last season.
All right, let's go into a comment you made there. You didn't have Pharrell Payne last year. You do have him this year. He is, I mean, I don't know where I put him, if not that I would rank players, but like if he's not the most important player on the floor, he's in the conversation of being, you know, 1B or 1C, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. His ability to score in the post, his ability to change the defense and allow the perimeter players an extra step or an extra half second to get the shot off. And it's not just his scoring ability; it's the fact that he doesn't make a lot of turnovers when he has the ball with his back to the basket. He's a good decision maker. He can play above the rim. He likes to play above the rim. He likes to be physical. I mean, that is a physical basketball player on the block, and he makes things happen. I love how he attacked the bigs for against Auburn. I mean, he went right at Jeni Broom. He went right at 44. He got them in foul trouble, and he changed the game for Texas A&M, and he does it on a consistent basis. So I love his ability to allow A&M to play inside out at times.
Talking to Logan Lee on the Buppy's Catering Hotline here on TexAgs Live. All right. Trey Johnson is excellent at basketball. I wasn't even aware he had a better statistics than Kevin Durant. I learned that earlier in the program for his freshman year. That being said, stopping him from winning, from just carrying Texas, I would say if you go back and watch that second game, he's kind of was struggling until he wasn't. Then he exploded. How key is it to kind of limit what he does, and then the back also recognize he ain't the only one that gets it going for Texas?
Yeah, that's he's a huge factor. You know, before the game that A&M played the first Texas matchup, my family and I were able to sit down with Darby. He used to be a strength coach here for Coach Kennedy. He's now at Texas. I mean, he flat out told me, Trey Johnson is the best guard. He could be the best guard that he's ever had on a team, and he's been on some really good teams. I didn't see it obviously in that first game. A&M slowed him down and really focused in on him, but obviously we all saw it in the second game. If you slow him down, I think you slow the entire team down. When he and obviously that's just a blanket statement. That's an obvious statement. But what I mean by that is when he's scoring, not only do you have to focus two guys on him, but that opens everything up. It's the same thing as Pharrell Payne with Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps. When Pharrell Payne is creating havoc on the block, it makes life so much easier for Wade Taylor and for Phelps and for Manny and everybody else that's on the perimeter. And that's what he does for all of his guys at Texas. He is what makes that team go. And he can score it at any position on the court. And he can do it at any time of the game. And so you look at the game in Austin, they're down at Texas A&M has the Longhorns down by 22 points, and they had contained him for the majority of the game. And then all of a sudden he goes off and he sees some daylight, and the comeback happens. And the comeback didn't happen just because Trey Johnson was scoring. The comeback happened because not only was he scoring, but he was distributing the ball, and he was allowing his teammates to get in a rhythm. A&M did not play its game that second half of the ball game in Austin. And we saw that as well in their 4-game losing streak. They didn't play their game. So when they're not offensive rebounding and when they're not dominating the glass on the offensive boards, when they aren't getting to the line, being aggressive and attacking and making their free throws, they don't win games. So they have to do that. I think it's more about A&M focusing on their style of play rather than focusing on one player. Because their style of play is going to shut most teams down. It's just they have to play it. And we saw that in the losing streak versus the Auburn game.
Logan, I'm going to ask a stupid question, but just bear with me. How important is momentum? And I'm going to stop it and kind of explain what I mean. Because what is momentum? Is a 2-game sample set momentum? Is a 4-game losing streak momentum? It feels like that is. Like, how important is that at this point, what they've done the last 2? And if they were to lose this one, then you can be like, yeah, you won 2 straight, but let's not forget you lost 4, you won 2 and lost 1. Like, how important is momentum to what's about to happen next week?
I think it goes both ways. I would love for A&M to beat Texas, beat Tennessee, and then beat whoever is up on the docket after that. That would give them a ton of momentum and a ton of confidence. However, it's just like we talked about before the Auburn game. A&M was on a 4-game losing streak. And I think I said, if they haven't lost their confidence, if they play the way they can beat Auburn because their momentum, they can switch their momentum on a dime just because of their energy, their hustle, and the way that they play. If they lose to Texas, which I don't think they will, but if they do, that first game of the tournament will get their momentum back because they're going to win that game because they'll probably have a chip on their shoulder. They'll be upset about the tournament. They're going to want to show and prove to the country that, hey, they're supposed to be a 3 seed, and they're going to win that ball game. And that's going to, it's so cliche to say, but it's a brand new season. When you get to March Madness, everybody starts at a 0-0 record, and you either win or you go home. And one win, that first win, will give you enough momentum to get you into the second game. You win the second game, all of a sudden you're in the Sweet 16. Anything can happen at that point. And that's what this team is. And so whether they win or lose this game, I don't think it will affect. I don't think it will affect how they play the first round. I think the momentum is for the fan base.
Right.
You know, this fan base has grown this year. I believe they were averaging almost 11,000 in attendance for the season. That's amazing for this program. But to continue that, to make this to make it more of a basketball tradition at Texas A&M, they have to win these games. It's not for it's not for the program itself. It's not for the team this year because they're going to go out and fight every single game. Winning more games right now will lead to a better fan base next season, which will lead to more support, which will lead to more NIL dollars, which will lead to Buzz being able to grab better players. And then that's when momentum truly starts to build and you see a change in the program.
I'm glad you said that because I think you're 100% spot on. If you look at a bunch of the fans now, it started with the Billy Clyde years, right? Like that group started something. And then if you think, the group that followed Caruso, right, in Billy Kennedy's time, like it sets up the next. And then we're still here for the ride. It doesn't matter who's there. So you're right. This group right here is creating Aggie fans in the next 7, 10, 15 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I said. That's what I mean by the momentum of the fan base. We have to continue to win ball games, to continue to grow the fan base, to then get to that upper echelon of basketball support. And unfortunately, all of that results in NIL dollars. And that's the name of the game right now. And if you can get more support from the fan base, a larger fan base, all of a sudden you have more money coming in. And that's, like I said, that's the name of the game right now. If you want the top programs, you got to have a lot of money to back it up.
Logan, I appreciate you, man. Hope to see you next week when hopefully I'll be somewhere cool for the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely.
All right, man. See ya. Logan Lee there on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. Luke Evangelist, fan show. Back to back, right? Luke, fan show. Luke, fan. Basically, Luke's a fan who's an analyst, who now is a reporter who's really good. We'll do that on the other side. Bird Dog, they're an Aggie-owned and operated company creating access to hunting opportunities. When you go hunting, you can go anywhere and go hunting and have a great time. But how about let the folks at Bird Dog kind of set up the logistics for you? They're Airbnb for hunting, right? So let them figure it all out for you. Find you the ranch. Set up all the details, right? All the protocol. They'll take care of everything from the lodging to a private chef. If you want to add a concert to it, you can have. There's so many different things you can add on with Bird Dog as your place to go for when you're trying to get a great hunt with a bunch of buddies, family, whatever it may be. But they do more than that too. If you're a landowner, they can find money on your land, right? Not only can they get the hunters to go to your land, they can also do what a lot of people don't know about, which is finding these tax benefits. So yeah, there's many tax benefits that they can find. We all know about the way you can get those tax benefits from ag exemptions and wildlife, but there are other things you haven't thought of. And you don't even have to run hunts on your land. As long as you're farming or running cattle, they're going to find you those tax benefits. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. The website for Bird Dog is birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. Do me a favor and check it out. We are back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in here on the program, having a good old time. Let's go back to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. That's where we find Luke Evangelist, who's in Nashville, reporting live. Luke, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I heard the spicy chicken was a little spicier than you were anticipating.
Yeah, well, so I was originally going to do that hottest flavor, which was called Shut the Cluck Up, and appropriately named, as we'll get into here in a moment. But Obi talked me out of it. He was like, no, it's okay. Like, I know we're trying to do this video, but it's okay. You don't have to do the hottest flavor. And I was like, no, I want to do it. Anyways, he talks me out of it. And the hottest one I get is just their hot flavor, which is the third hottest one. And I try it. And wouldn't you know, it's really hot. It's like past my own spice tolerance. And then I think I'm done. I'm like, all right, I've survived. Halfway through the video, a very kind worker there. First of all, the Hattie B's customer service is unmatched. She brings us a free tender of Shut the Cluck Up. And when I tell you, I almost passed out from smelling it. It was crazy. So obviously I have to take a bite, and I did. And let's just say I've been feeling the effects of it ever since then. And I'm still not 100% recovered.
And I hear they gave you a bunch of ice cream to help tone it down afterwards.
Yeah, I think I ended up eating more ice cream than I did chicken in that whole endeavor. And I had to. My mouth, David, I've never ate anything hotter in my life. But I'll do anything for this company, as you know. And if that means I have to go through a little bit of pain for a lot of viewership and content, then I will do anything.
Well, let's talk about things that people care about, like this Aggie basketball team.
Yeah, of course.
And this Texas matchup. And, honestly, this game means a lot for both in different ways, right? Like, for Texas, they're not guaranteed a spot in the NCAA tournament. They're playing hot, but they got to keep winning. For A&M, it's a different kind of position, right? And tell me if I'm qualifying this correctly, in that they want to right a wrong against not only a rival, but also the way the way that game kind of sprouted out of control. That's so uncharacteristic of a Buzz Williams team. And look, in the back of their minds, like these seniors want to leave a legacy, and that legacy means not only beating Texas, but maybe winning the SEC tournament and then going far in March.
Yeah, and when you talk about being in a different position, I think A&M knows the position that Texas is in very well. They've come into a conference tournament on the bubble, whether that be on the right side of the bubble last year or on the way deep end of the bad side of the bubble a couple of years ago. And Texas has themselves positioned as the first team out, according to Joe Lunardi. So this is essentially a win in their in game for the Texas Longhorns. And I think it's almost poetic justice that the team that has the opportunity to stop them is Texas A&M. And when you talk about righting a wrong, no matter who they were going to play, it was either going to be Vanderbilt or Texas. Both games, A&M wanted them back. I know against Vanderbilt, I don't want to say it was uncharacteristic offensively, but defensively, you let Tyler Nickel have a career game. They couldn't stop anyone late. I know they made the late comeback to make it a one-possession game, but Vanderbilt had control of that entire second half. And A&M takes pride in their halftime adjustments and the team that they are in the second half. So you wanted the Vanderbilt matchup back for one reason, and I think you want the Texas matchup back for a whole bunch of reasons. One, it's your rival and you get to settle the 1-1 even score. But two, the last time you played, you're absolutely right. It was one of their best first halves of the season. They came out with a double-digit lead. They tied their record for the most threes made in a half with 8, and they looked unstoppable. It looked like they were going to run away and win by 20-plus again. And uncharacteristic is a great way to put it. Texas beat them at exactly what A&M wants to do to other teams. A&M was worn down. They didn't get to the free throw line, and they made all those threes, but it didn't matter because they couldn't hold a lead late. And so you want to right that wrong. And the fact that you add on to it that it's their bitter rival, and no matter what happens in this game, Twitter, X, any social media, any in-person interaction, any conversation centered around the state of Texas basketball is going to be brought up about what the result of this game is, because you either get to end Texas's season or you get to extend it by sending them to the NCAA tournament. A&M had that opportunity in Austin. Texas was essentially dead in the water. Beating A&M revived their season and put them back on the positive side of the bubble. So A&M gets to right that wrong and ultimately has the chance to not only send Texas home, but hopefully lock up a 3 seed, which would be their highest ranking and seed in program history. It would tie the 2 other times they earned that seed.
Luke, Trey Johnson, I mean, nobody's really slowing him down this season except A&M, right? Like A&M for maybe 60 of the 80 possible minutes have had his number. They didn't have it for that final 20, though.
No, definitely not. And he's the leading scorer in the SEC. He's newly minted SEC Freshman of the Year, and for good reason. He's going to hear his name called in the NBA lottery very soon here. He is what Texas fans are saying is the best player they've had since Kevin Durant, and I don't think they're wrong to believe that. When Trey Johnson gets hot, Texas is unbelievably tough to beat, and A&M fans know that very well because the first time they played, he was 2 for 15, scored 11 points, but 7 came at the free throw line. The second time they played, he dropped 30 on A&M and was ultimately the reason why they came back. He just refused to miss a shot from deep or from the free throw line in Austin in that second half. So you're right. A&M has put him in a pocket, put him in jail for 60 of their 80 minutes they played. And what they do for the last 40 minutes is ultimately going to determine this game because he had 19 yesterday, but Texas only made 4 threes, and Trey Johnson made 3 of them, and he took 10 of their 16 attempts. So he's going to chuck the ball today. He's going to shoot it because they know that if they have any chance of beating A&M, it's to get A&M out of their game. And the way you do that is by making 3. So he took 10 yesterday against Vanderbilt. I would not at all be surprised to see him take 12. And if you're A&M, you got to limit him and contest every single shot. So he ends up going 3 for 12 and not 7 for 12.
Luke, let's talk Pharrell Payne and why, like he's crucial every game, but maybe in this particular matchup, why you think he could be a key cog.
Yeah, well, so this is an interesting matchup for Pharrell Payne because when you talk about Texas, they have the backcourt depth with Tremont Mark and Jordan Pope and obviously Trey Johnson. But from a front court perspective, it's really just Arthur Kaluma and Caden Shedrick. And Kaluma didn't play in Austin. So that's why that loss hurt even more for A&M. Because you got Texas when they were without probably their second best player, and you still couldn't beat him. Kaluma had 13 and 7 in the first meeting in College Station, and yesterday he had 11 with 7 rebounds. So when you talk about Texas's front court, it starts and ends with Kaluma, and Pharrell Payne has been at his best when he's attacking. And you saw what he did against Janai Broome, attacking him early and often, getting Janai Broome injured. I know that's not the hope anytime you play in basketball, but Pharrell Payne was so physical that it took the SEC Player of the Year out of the game, and Janai Broome was never the same. So Payne has been averaging 14 and 6 these last 4 games. When he's playing at his best and the offense is getting at least a touch for him every other possession, sometimes every possession down the floor he's touching the ball, it can't just be A&M chucking threes. Like we know, this team is not built to take 30 threes a game. They're built to work inside out, feed Pharrell Payne, feed Henry Coleman, Anderson Garcia will clean up the mess, and Solomon Washington will dunk on somebody. But for the guard play that A&M has is electric. But when they're running their offense through Pharrell Payne, they are truly one of the better offenses in the country. And that's crazy to say because the efficiency numbers are not there. But when you run that offense through Pharrell Payne, look at all their biggest wins and look at what Pharrell Payne scored in those wins.
All right, we got about a minute left, Luke. What does a win do for A&M? We know that getting the 2 seed seems highly unlikely, but I mean, maybe there's a scenario or 2 out there. But does the 3 just almost guarantee? And there's no guarantees this March, but
yeah,
as close to a guarantee as you can get.
Yeah, there's no guarantees, but right now 85% of bracketologists have A&M as a 3. If you want to sleep better going into Selection Sunday and make that closer to 100%, winning this game would do that, and it would also keep that hope alive for a 2 seed. But look, winning this game gives you bragging rights of beating Texas and essentially ending their season. And on top of that, you would be playing for the highest seed in program history, still in play with a 2 seed. And at the very least, you feel great about tying your highest seed ever with a 3 seed.
Luke, I appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the show.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, when we come back on TexAgs Live, the Fan Show guys are here. Blake and Royce, we'll talk to them right now. Let's talk about your favorite car wash, the car wash tradition that your family needs to know about. That's the, sometimes I butcher things, Aggieland Express Car Wash. They got 2 awesome locations. You got the original William D. Fitch. That's the one I usually go to. But they also have the Texas Avenue location. That's the newest location. Both offer the washes that you want. But the newest location on Texas Avenue offers the full-service wash there. And that full-service wash has 3 different levels of full service. And we're going to give a free one away right now. Caller number 1, that phone number is 979-693-1150. We'll get you this $40 value. The first caller to 979-693-1150 will get yourself a free full-service car wash from the Texas Avenue location of Aggieland Express Car Wash. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for the Fan Show. Royce Hickman, how are you, sir?
Good. It's good to be with you.
Been a few weeks.
It has.
Blake Chilton, hello.
Doing good, man.
Yeah?
Excited to be here.
Well, look, we got to get right to it. So usually I ask what's on your mind. I know part of the answer. You've got a little bit of a black eye.
I do.
Can you explain?
It's more than a little bit.
Yeah. It looks like you got, what happened?
I feel like you're trying to show off that you actually hit me yesterday. And
It wasn't me, was it?
I think it was you.
Are you being for reals or no?
Yeah, I feel like you're trying to flex
I
a little bit for the people.
So we go to Brazos Valley MMA. Shout out to Bubba Bush there and the whole gang, Bob Loop. But we did roll together a little bit yesterday. And I thought I texted you. It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you.
Okay, all right, okay.
I was just giving
It's
you
a better story if
That's
it was
right,
him.
it's a better story.
Well, so, by the way, something's in the water. My daughter counted yesterday 25 bruises on my body yesterday, and I don't know why. Usually I don't. Yesterday was a little physical.
This probably isn't very good advertising for BVMMA.
No, it's great.
All I know is I'm not going to hang around with you guys.
Royce, you're coming with us, all right? Let's go. Let's put you in the triangle. All right, so let's start off with what's on your mind, Aggie Athletics. You start us off, Royce.
Well, the first thing's on my mind is what an incredible interview you had with Brian earlier, Barone.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that a lot. It's just there's a lot going on.
Yes.
So there's a lot on my mind. Obviously, Aggie basketball because of today, Aggie baseball because of tomorrow. I'm really impressed with what Coach Ford is doing with the softball team. And there's just so much going on that's exciting. We're going to start spring football before long, too.
Yeah. Blake, what's on your mind?
Yeah, 2:30 today. I'm excited for a little revenge match. That's what I'm.
That's right. We owe them one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I look at this matchup, and it's not all about Texas, but you want to beat your rival. They beat you last time in a game that is it didn't matter the opponent. That game made me want to throw up. And I know A&M's done that to other teams, right? They've done that to Ole Miss. They've done that to Oklahoma. But it being Texas, Blake, it made it worse, and you have a chance to end potentially their season.
Yeah, we played really good ball against them for 60 minutes. And then that last 40 or whatever just was terrible. Or last 20 was just terrible.
Right.
And so, they're not playing in Austin. I feel like we're on the ascent, right? Beating number 1 Auburn, dismantling LSU like we did. They beat Vanderbilt, which I don't know. It isn't much to say.
Yeah.
But I was kind of checking out the bubble watch, and it said prior to the SEC tournament they were on the bubble. So I would love for the chance to send them home and to end their season. That'd be great.
I really agree with what Olin said earlier this morning about it was more about us not playing well when at crunch time against Texas. When things fell apart. Now, no question, they got hot. But by the same token, if we'd have continued playing our brand of basketball, they'd have never made up that difference, in my opinion.
Yep. Well, let's talk about it's the fan show, so let's be fans here for a minute. Wade Taylor, where he kind of is in your Texas A&M basketball hierarchy when you think about some of the greats that we've seen play, especially the last 25 years. Just talk a little bit about Wade. Royce, start us off.
You know what? You wouldn't know this, but his first year here, I went to a basketball dinner, and he sat next to me at the table. And I came home and told my wife, what an outstanding young man. I mean, not just the quality basketball player, but he's a quality individual. And he would speak to me when he'd see me at the games. I've seen him at another Broken Egg, and he would say something to me there. But and everybody was saying Buzz Williams was out there telling the fans, don't rush the court, and because they couldn't afford to fine. No, he had that special deal for Wade, and he didn't want them coming out on the court and spoiling that moment for Wade. And what a nice moment for that young man that's done so much for Aggie basketball. And it's not just what he's done scoring, it's what he's done is distributing the ball, making a change to things. And just, I think, the quiet leadership that he's demonstrated as well. Yeah. I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah. Blake? For sure. I mean, he's high character, young man. But you think about some of the Aggie basketball greats, Bernard King, Winston Cripe back in the day, and you'd have to put him at number 1. I mean, I think the stats show that. I think his character shows that. Yeah, and
that's not a knock to anybody else. AC Law, all of those folks, and
for sure,
they're my old friend Randy Matson played a year of basketball here. And,
did he really?
Yeah, and bruised up a lot of people.
Yeah, well, let's stay there for a second because I think Wade's definitely in that conversation, but how important is what happens this week and next week, and hopefully the week after, to cementing his legacy? Because AC got to the Sweet 16, maybe a play away from going beyond, right?
Yeah,
and there have been others, right? So how important is having marked success to that? Blake, start us off.
I think that can really cement his legacy, right? Taking an Aggie basketball team further than we have ever gone. Whether that's an Elite Eight, whether that's, crazy talk to talk about a Final Four, that would be amazing. And I think it would for sure cement his legacy.
Yeah, I don't think it'll hurt him at all, but I do agree that, you even look at great quarterbacks, ultimately it gets down to how many championships did they win. And it would certainly put him up there, I think even higher than he is now if he could really pull off something special.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it'll hurt him, because I think what he's got now, he'll keep.
Let's do one more basketball question before we hit a break. A win against Texas not only adds to some momentum, right? 3 straight, if you can do that. What do you think it does when it comes to bracketology? Do you think their place is safe as a 3 seed? Do you see a window to maybe slide up to a 2? Are you a little worried because it is March and we are fans and we've seen A&M get screwed before, drop into a 4, maybe even a 5? I don't see a scenario that happens, but and how do you guys feel about it, Royce?
Well, your last element, I've seen us get messed over by the committee so many times, and I don't think we're ever safe.
Right.
But I do feel reasonably comfortable. If we got blown out, that would be one thing. But if they go in and win this game, I think it's going to lock up at least a 3. To get to a 2, I think they got to win it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I try to stay away from the BAS a little bit,
right.
Battered Aggie syndrome. I think this game doesn't do that for us, give us a higher seed. But I think it gives us potential to play Tennessee, which we need to knock off since they beat us in the regular season. That could help us get into a higher seed than what we're projected as.
Yeah, I think getting that 2 seed is going to be very difficult. Luke laid out the path. It seems like there aren't that many spots, but maybe, right? Like, if we're going to be the fan show, let's go with maybe on that one.
Right.
We'll hit a break. We'll do a little baseball and football on the other side. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, right now we're talking Brazos Running Company, located at Century Square, locally owned, Aggie-owned, and operated specialty running store with the best selection of shoes. We all know that if you're into fitness, the right shoe makes all the difference in the world. And at the Brazos Running Company, they are very passionate about finding you the right shoe for you. All the top brands you can imagine, from On to Hoka to Nike, you name it. They have them all there. They have New Balance, you name it. Let them help you find the right shoe that makes sense for you. They also have Yori clothing there. They've got Duck Camp. I love me some Duck Camp, and Turtle Box speakers with those maroon accent handles, and they sell Stanley Cups as well. It is the Brazos Running Company located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Closing out here on the Fan Show, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Blake and Royce with me here to close out the program. Baseball. So when I saw you yesterday or the day before, whenever I saw you this week at MMA, Brazos Valley MMA, I said, hey, can you do the Fan Show? You're like, yeah, we got some good stuff to talk about now. Because it felt like for a couple of weeks we didn't have, basketball had their slump, baseball had a rough start. We didn't want to think about the way football ended. And now, so how are we feeling about this baseball team now?
So I never jumped ship. I think we got spoiled last year that we didn't lose an out-of-conference game. Like the season just kind of took off. And last year was a magical season. It was an amazing season. This is a new team. And so we can't expect the same things, the same season. It's a new season.
New coaches.
Yeah, new coaches. There's new players. And it's going to take them time to adjust. And baseball's a long season. Like, I've continued to buy into what Bronny's preaching. Like, hey, this is the way baseball go, right? Quote a little Ron Washington there. And so I'm not as concerned about Aggie baseball in February and the results that we're getting in February. I'm looking forward to June. And that's what and I think we've still got the talent. I think we've got the coaches, we've got the team. It's just going to take them a little time to get there, for our bullpen to heat up, for some of these guys in the batting order to heat up. It's a long season. And so I'm excited about where we're going. I'm excited about this weekend, Alabama coming to town. They've only played 2 games away. And so I'm excited. Conference is starting. Our guys are starting to find their groove. And so I'm looking forward to it.
Royce?
Well, the first thing I would say is anytime you lose a major part of your lineup, I don't care who you are, there's an impact on the team. And I personally feel like they are starting to learn to play without those guys. And that takes some time. And, I mentioned a while ago, it's a new coaching staff. There's a lot of things that are new about that, which is a new culture. And while the players all like Early and were a big reason he got the job, I think, he still he's going to do it his way, hopefully, because he won't succeed if he doesn't. And they've got to adjust to that, too. But I feel a little better. I think, and I'm like you, I never jumped ship. I did get discouraged, particularly when the defense kind of fell apart there. But that shored up. The
5 straight games, no errors.
That's a big turnaround. So I'm excited.
Royce, we talked Wade last segment, eclipsing the all-time mark, and Jace is knocking on the door as well. So, and he hasn't even been hot yet.
You're right.
When he gets hot, right? And we've seen him get super hot. So let's just take a moment to think about Jace and his impact.
Yeah. Well, I think, and he was also one of the players that were leading about the coach and all. So that leadership is there with him. And I know there's been talk about the pressure of breaking the home run record. I don't think so. I mean, he's got all year to do that, so it's going to happen. Right. And I don't think there's pressure there. I do think he may feel some pressure because of the injuries of having to try to make up for that. And I may be totally wrong, but it'd be a normal thing for somebody that's a team player to say, I've got to step up bigger. And sometimes that is a little difficult. But he's going to get it together. He's too good not to get it together and play well, and he will.
That ball he drove out to right field, what was it, 111 miles an hour exit velocity the other day? Yeah. I was like, he's okay. He's okay. Yeah. He's just got to get a little more consistent, which he will in time.
He will.
I'm not worried about him.
We got about less than 3 minutes. Let's do some football here before we close out. So I look at this second year for Coach Elko as such a huge year because of what it can mean one direction or the other. If you build on that 8-win season, right? And none of us were happy with 8 wins, but you build on it. It seems like, all right, this is progress, right? We've gone from 7-5, 8-5 with a new coach, and then hopefully 9 wins. The other way, I have a little empathy understanding the schedule, but I'm like, it's results. So let's talk about year 2 of what it could mean for Elko. Blake, you start us off.
Yeah, I think his focus on culture is going to start paying off. His retention of players, the guys that he's bringing in, I think even having Marcel Reed, knowing going into this season, hey, I'm QB1, this is where we're going. His leadership, I think some of the changes in his life are going to start paying dividends. I'm excited. I'm really excited about what year 2 under him can look like.
Royce?
Well, I think sometimes people forget a new coach comes in, and almost all the players, I mean, I know he gets some recruiting, but they were recruited by somebody else. And when you come in with a new culture, you're going to have players say that, this is what I signed up for. And they need to leave when that happens. And now, I think what's going to be interesting is now he's going to have at least half the team that he's brought in, maybe more. And I think he's going to be, and I do totally agree with you that when you change the culture, it takes some time for that for the benefits of that to be seen. Yeah. And I think that's going to happen. I think he's the right guy. I really do. And I think he's going to be able to do it. And I think he won't tolerate it otherwise. He'll change things. But, Marcel's got to have a better year, and I hope you're right about him. And, and our offensive coordinator got to have a better year.
Yeah. Well, all right. We got about 45 seconds left. Who else has to step up? Let's say somebody beyond Marcel Reed. Blake?
I'm going to switch to the defense.
Okay.
All right. If Marcel's the guy on offense, we're going to have some guys step up on defense. Yep. I know Torian York is a leader in there. I think he maybe had a down season from last year, but I think there's got to be somebody on that D line losing so many NFL draft picks projectedly. I think somebody on that D line is going to have to step up and have kind of a Michael Clemens year where they just kind of out of nowhere just show out,
break out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Royce?
Well, I do think it's defensively, and if you look at it, one of the things that beat us, we gave up too many big plays. Mm-hmm. I mean, we could have somebody 3rd and 25 and give up a 26-yard play, and so you do have to shore up that defensive line, and the defense secondaries have to play better.
There you go. Thank you, Royce. That's going to do it for TexAgs Live on a Thursday. We'll see you mañana.